podcast, we meet two parents who define the odds when striving to help their daughter succeed and understanding that it doesn't matter if you comprehend differently than others, as long as that brings meaning to you. Hello and welcome back. Today I have two very special guests with me, Charlie and Becca Sloan, and they will be sharing with us some special stories about what it was like growing up with a child struggling with a learning disability. And it's even special because that child happens to be myself. Oh, well, let me welcome Charlie and Becca Sloan.
Hi, Allie. This is Becca, your mama.
Hello, Allie. It's me, your dad.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, you guys.
No problem.
Getting to interview my parents personally about the struggles I faced through growing up with dyslexia, I was reminded not only of how I became my own advocate, but also that I could never let my disability define me. It was not going to be an easy road to achieving success. Starting off our conversation, we talked a lot about what it was like when I first found out I had a learning disability and what that meant for my parents and for their plan of action for my future education.
Well, after your mother stopped crying, because we didn't know what it was, it's a term. Anytime you label something, it's a bit scary. We didn't know hardly anything about it. But the more we learn, the more we realize it's just another thing that makes you special, and we've grown to see it as a blessing.
It's something that we became 100% focused on, trying to learn everything we could about it and what it meant for you and how we were going to help you find the tools you needed to cope with dyslexia on your own. A big part of it was just trying to understand what that even meant, because it's not like you had a broken arm that we could fix. It was something going on inside of your brain. And that's not only confusing, but it's scary as well.
Mm-hmm. And opposite of like a broken arm, like you said, you get tools for those and you have a crutch. What would you say some of the tools you guys learned to rely on for me would be?
Well, we tried everything. I mean, every program that you could possibly imagine, we tried. Linda Mood Bell, clay, making letters with clay.
Oh, yeah,
my mom and I rambled on for about 5 more minutes,
reminiscing on all the old techniques and tutoring styles that never seems to stick throughout the years. However, what we came to find over time was that the tool that I needed most for succeeding was one that we could not buy.
Well, I'm not sure there was a single turning point. We just always kept in mind 3 or 4 things. One, like your mother said, the first thing was to maintain your self-esteem. Some of the things we learned about dyslexia, a lot of people that have it are just, they're called stupid and they can't read and nobody ever goes past that and they're just destroyed as people.
Building my strong self-esteem would be the tool that would later push me to succeed in ways textbooks could not. So you've talked a lot about my self-esteem and making sure my self-esteem was intact and secure, and I was a strong individual both in school and outside. What would you say some landmarks when you noticed those?
It had paid off?
Yeah, had paid off.
Yeah. Well, obviously the first one was when you were in, I think, 7th grade, 8th grade? 8th grade.
It was my 8th grade graduation, I think.
8th grade graduation, you got the geography award, and it was like, oh my God, you really can succeed. I'm going to cry. And then being named editor-in-chief of the yearbook.
Yes, I think that's the geography award was very special because I think it let you know that you could do whatever you wanted to do, despite the challenge.
Yeah, it definitely pushed me.
And then when Ms. Burke asked you to become editor of the yearbook, I think that was, because Shelby had been editor, she had known you since you were in, I don't know, tiny, because you'd always been up in the yearbook room with Shelby. But the fact that she knew you had dyslexia, and she knew that you struggled with reading, but yet she had the confidence in you to put you in that position, a position that required you to read and edit people's papers and, organize this huge staff and put out, a major publication for a student body of 3,000 kids. I mean, it was really a big deal.
Even older and in high school, things were never easy. Year after year, I was faced with a roadblock that I never thought I would get over.
The obstacle was one that we had no control over, which was having to pass the FCAT in order to graduate from high school.
And the FCAT is the Florida standardized testing that everyone has to pass.
And it's inherently unfair to someone who has a learning disability like dyslexia, because so much of the FCAT is based on reading and timed reading and having to pass a standardized test, which I hate standardized tests.
Yeah.
And, quite honestly, it was just impossible for you to pass that. And you had, luckily, because we advocated for you and went through all of the process to make sure that you had the IEPs and all of the documentation that noted that legally you were protected by virtue of your learning disability. We knew that we could get you a waiver to be able to graduate from high school, and just because you couldn't pass the FCAT, that didn't mean you wouldn't graduate from high school, but it was always something there that was just waiting. It was a weight on your shoulders, and every year when you'd have to take it, it'd be like all of that hard work you'd done and all of the hard work we'd done to make sure you had your self-esteem. Then they'd throw this FCAT on you, and you wouldn't pass it.
Yeah.
It'd be like one step forward and two steps back. But then at the end of the day, you passed it. Your very last year.
Yeah, I was in high school, and it took me until I passed it. I remember the day. It was a Friday the 13th, I remember. And since then, they've been lucky. But
yeah, and
it was not easy.
Not easy.
But I remember the feeling of just, oh my God, I don't have to do this again. I don't have to sit in that room and do these horrible tests that just drain the energy out of you, because it's asking things that my brain just can't do.
Though even on my luckiest days, I will still find myself facing a daily struggle nagging at my brain. Dyslexia is something that cannot be cured. It is only something you learn to accept and cope with in your own unique way.
Do you think it's been a blessing or a curse?
I mean, sometimes it feels like a curse for sure, but when I look at things, not like life things, and throughout our travels and just comprehending things that are meaningful to me, I feel it's been nothing but a blessing. I wouldn't change my brain for anything.
Break my heart, I'll be the one to hope. And I know more than I knew.